have the Adura, the Ajunos, the Iworis, and all the other terms that we use. As leaders, our number one responsibility is to lead, to set examples for those who come after us, for those who follow us. And the very first lesson as a leader we should be teaching is unity. Because if you have followers who follow you, you would want them to follow you in a uniformed, orderly fashion. So hence it is very important that you set the example. And the example, the first part of that example is having a sense of unity. There would be other leaders in other groups to whom you should pay respect, to whom you should embrace as your equal, not necessarily as your subordinate or your superior, but as a leader, as your equal. You do not have to have the same beliefs as they do to respect them. Because I am certain that you respect leaders of other groups, of other established groups. So I am saying to sit at the table of unity for leaders is probably one of the greatest challenge, because historically there would have been differences, there would have been grievances, there would have been incidents. But if one was to look at very carefully the history of most organizations in the world, what one would discover is that because of the variety of organizations we have, these organizations have histories. And most new emerging organizations come out of other organizations. So that is not an unusual thing. It is part of development. Many of us don't view it as development. Because when you have somebody beneath you and they have ideas which you are unwilling to accept, and they leave and they formulate their own organization, then that produces grievance. Because now this person becomes your enemy. That is the way of progress, unfortunately. Because most of the organizations we have in any group, that is the way that a lot of them broke off and were formed. So actually there is really no reason why when these things occur that one would have a perpetual grudge or grievance against someone else who may have been your subordinate. Chances are they may even have become more popular than you. But shouldn't there still be a measure of value to that? Because if that individual was someone that you taught, then what you have taught them is what they are going to teach to the others. It may have a slight variance in that one or two things that your student may not have agreed with you on, he may teach those things also. But the vast majority of the body of knowledge that you passed on to your subordinate, that is what he's going to pass on to his subordinates. So really, what you're seeing as a loss is actually a credit to you. But most leaders do not see it like that. All right? And again, this is not a criticism. This is kind of like a wake-up call. I'm just trying to let you know there are different ways that we can view the changes that occur in life as part of the progression of life. And I'm saying, this is an appeal. I'm saying to all of the leaders in the area of African tradition, the Spiritual Baptist, the Shango Baptist, the Shouta Baptist, the Orisha Baptist, the Ifa Orisha community, the Straight Orisha community, and all of the traditionalists who would hear my appeal, I am asking that we put our differences together and we sit at the table of unity, because the only thing that that can spell for us is progress. That's the only thing it could spell for us. And there is absolutely no reason, and I don't care what it is, there is no reason why we cannot put away our differences for the greater good of our entire community. Your individual progress as an individual leader is good for you, and it's good for all of those who follow you. But for us as a community, it is a great disservice, because when you, with your accomplishments, unite with others who also are having accomplishments, then we as a collective could achieve a whole lot more. Now, let me say this. We are no longer in the days when we were ruled by England or Spain or France or anyone else. The label of colonialism has been long taken off of our backs. It's no longer there in the form of a label. However, the landmarks of colonialism is still here with us and very present. So we don't have a king or a queen who would try to destroy the practice of African tradition because it was a threat to the very existence of their colonial authority. We no longer have that. So that's one less excuse. However, we do have a system that has all the trappings of colonialism. And that system wishes to maintain what is called the status quo. So they really don't want too much of this backward African influence overtaking the society. So we do indeed have a great aspect of the society that does not wish to see African tradition advance and prosper in this society. So in appealing to members of this community, I am telling you that we have a fight. And when we fight each other, we even make ourselves weaker, which makes it almost impossible for us to achieve anything. So my greatest challenge is to realize that there are those who do not want African tradition to prosper. And I'm saying, let it not be us. Let us not be our own greatest enemy. Let us stop fighting each other. Let us sit at the table of unity. Let our egos be deflated just a little bit. Because I can assure you, if we achieve more as a community, whatever you are accomplishing right now with your following, you are going to accomplish a lot more. And you're going to have a lot more followers if we were united. Okay? Now, the big question is really, what are we waiting for? All of the subjects that I've just mentioned, Malcolm X spoke about them. And I'm now going to discuss a couple of issues that was discussed by Nkrumah. He was one of the great Pan-Africanist leaders of Africa. And he was attempting to promote the same thing I'm trying to promote, unity. But his objective was to create unity among all the African nations. My intention is to create unity among all the African traditional practitioners of Trinidad and Tobago. So the big question is, what are we waiting for? We are African traditionalists. We believe in the ancestors. We believe in the Orishas. We believe in the Himalayas. Eshu, Oludumare, Akamara, and all the other names. We all share this belief in common. We live in the same space. We share common ancestors. And I could go down a list. We all suffer together. We are all oppressed. Because in our community, we form the ranks of some of the poorest people in Trinidad and Tobago. If we unite, maybe we could lose some of that poverty. Maybe we could have some financial institutions, some businesses, some schools. Maybe we could educate our children better so that we could experience some social mobility where our community could produce some of the brightest children in the country, where our community could start producing doctors, lawyers, engineers, various types of professional people. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for someone to come and save us? And mind you, I'm not criticizing anybody's religion because I know some people believe in a savior. But I'm saying, as a people, if we do not unite, if we do not sit at the table of unity, and we do not deflate our egos and drop our differences, it's never going to happen. Because I am certain I'm not the first person having this conversation of unity. I've been making the wrongs and I've been hearing of all the efforts that has been made before today and has failed. Because many of the leaders are unwilling to sit at the table of unity. And they have a million reasons why. And from some of the stories I've heard, I would like to say that I don't blame some of them. But actually I do blame some of them because you are the leaders. And if you are not responsible, then tell me who is. Not the followers. So, again, the question is, what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? Well, I would say this. If we were to have a common desire simply to move forward and to have progress, that is enough to sit at the table of unity. Just the desire to make progress. How are we going to make that progress? That could be worked out at the table. When we're going to make that progress, that could be worked out at the table. What direction are we heading? That could be worked out at the table. How do we reconcile our differences? That could also be worked out at the table. But the first thing is we must sit at the table of unity. If we don't sit there, ain't nothing ever gonna happen. So, let us discuss some of the possible fruits of unity. And let us also discuss some of the foundational things that would contribute towards our success. We are now in the year 2020. Many of the existing churches, temples, elegians, shrines in the island of Trinidad and Tobago has been established by many of our elders who have made great sacrifices, who have undergone every possible indignity in order for us to have what we have today. So trust me, I am not disrespecting any elder because I am aware of a lot of the things that happened throughout the colonial era and coming out of the colonial era. And I think that we must venerate our elders and we must recognize those who are here and those who have already passed for the work that they have done. And I would not dare say that it is not enough, because it is a great achievement. What I will, however, say is that today, the few elders that are left are tired. For those that I've spoken to, some of them are not so tired. Some are still willing to work with new ideas. But many of the elders that I've spoken to are tired because they have been working for a very long time. And they have been making very great efforts of the same unity that I speak of. And I think it is time that we put these elders in a position or in a state where they could be respected and venerated, and where the younger individuals who are capable should come forward willingly and humbly to accept the responsibility of working to push our community forward. It is achievable. Yes, we are among the ranks of the poorest on the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. However, we do have a class of individuals in our community who are well educated and well qualified and well experienced in various administrative capacities, many of whom are willing to work within the community. However, we have nothing to offer them because we don't have any institutions. So this is what I would suggest. Among the elders and among those who are practitioners of the various African traditions, I would suggest we meet at the table and form what is called an intellectual trust, meaning where we would all sit and we would use some of our brain power. We would evaluate what was done in the past, both successfully and unsuccessfully, not for the mere entertainment of the history, but to use this information to plan forward so that we could approach our future in a very diligent manner, where we can build institutions that would stand and would stand for a very long time. Beside our intellectual trust, what we also have to look towards is having organizational heads, people who have the various skills of organizing, where we could look to organize different types of institutions. It is not too much. You know, I remember my mother used to tell me Rome wasn't built in a day. So I'm not saying that we're going to meet at the table 2 times and all of a sudden everything is going to fall from the sky and happen very quickly. But I will say this. I would say that the ancestors and the energies are currently working on us in some pretty remarkable ways, because a lot of people are meeting and discussing a lot of things. But what I'm saying is we don't need to have all these little individual meetings all over the place. What we need to do is come together and sit at one table. What we can have is delegates from all over the place, but we're sitting at one table. What we would need to also have is some sort of statistics, records, where we are able to know how many ilays, shrines, temples, healing schools exist on the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. What we would also need to do is for the various types of houses, sanctuaries, and establishments, that we set some sort of rules, because we cannot have everybody and anybody doing just as they please. Because if we must unite, we have to unite under very specific conditions. I am not telling anyone what they must do or what they must practice. No, but what I will say is that if you belong to a particular house, that house must have rules. If you come to visit me, you're not going to come into my home and do what you want. You're going to come into my home and you're going to follow the rules that I have. So in like manner, what I'm saying, one of the elements of unity is we must establish some sort of house rules. One shoe would not fit all. We are aware of that, because we have people on one end who use the Bible, and we have people on the other end who uses the Ifagbemiro, the books of Udu. And in between we may have other people who uses other things. So we know one may not be compatible with the other. But again, if we could lay back the differences for a while, meet at the table of unity, discuss a couple of rules, get some intellectual resources together, get some organizing resources together, get some statistics so that we could have an idea of who's willing to sit at the table and who is out there and what it is they are doing, and how we can help within the framework of organizing, how we can help everyone stand a little taller together. We need to have economic programs, because nothing that we want to do, we would be able to do it without money. We must be talking about economic programs, whether it be agriculture, whether it be a cooperative, whether it be a credit union, whether it be a common market, whether it be a business association. We need to have unity among ourselves. Again, this is an appeal to members of our community for the need for unity. Many of the things I said are extracts that I took from both Malcolm X and Nkrumah, or Nkrumah, that's how it's pronounced by some. These are not new ideas. These are ideas that have been around for a very long time. And I'm asking our people, let us join together. Let us sit at the table of unity. Our predecessors has worked very hard to take us to where we are. And I think it is time that many of the elders sit and advise and relax a little bit and see the fruits of their work. And for those of us who are capable of making a contribution, let us step forward and let this be our leg in the relay, because that's what it is being run like, a relay. The ancestors who have already transitioned, they have done their leg. They have left the elders who are still here with us for us to have them to advise us so that we could now take our leg. So we must thank Uludumare and the ancestors and the Himalayas and the Orishas for allowing us to have ancestors, allowing us to have elders, that are still alive, who can give us a sensible advice, who we must respect and we must venerate. Those who have transitioned, we must venerate them also. So I say Ibashe to the elders who have transitioned. Ibashe, all the work that they have done, all the contributions that they have made, we are thankful. We must say Madupwe. And with this, I would like to close by saying again to members of our African community, whether you call yourself Spiritual Baptist, Shango Baptist, Shouta Baptist, Orisha Baptist, whatever, Orisha, Ifa Orisha, whoever you are, let us join hands. Let us build our community. I don't want to go into anything else. I don't want to talk about the prisons and how many of our children are there. I do not want to speak about the young men being slaughtered off on the street and who they are, because they belong to us. They don't belong to no other community, you know. They belong to us. So therefore it means there is something that we are not doing. And what we are not doing is uniting. So my final appeal to all the members of the community, not to some. This is not just for the group to which I belong. This is for all the groups. We need to sit at the table of unity. Thank you. And I would like to say Odabo.